What's a scary science fact that the public knows nothing about? If you like our videos, please make sure to subscribe to our channel as we post videos every week. Grapefruits completely fuck with a shitload of prescription medications. Edit, grapefruits. Not grapefruits. I only recently learned that when you get sunburned, the burn isn't because of skin cell damage. The UV radiation damages the DNA. Then the skin cells decide to commit suicide and fall off so that the damaged DNA doesn't produce cancer. I'll never be mad at my skin peeling again. When doing an autopsy, they don't put the organs back where they belong. They are all stored in the belly. If you're exposed to rabies and start to show symptoms, your chance of survival is virtually 0%. We give our pets rabies vaccines. Are there rabies vaccines for people? Yes, and they're effective at preventing the disease after you've been exposed to it as long as you aren't displaying symptoms yet. Which is why they recommend to treat any animal bite very seriously and get it checked. If you do this, your odds of ever dying from rabies is essentially 0. Unless a bat gets you in the middle of the night and you wake up with an odd scape assuming you just bumped into something the day before. Brain aneurysms can be completely unpredictable and can happen at any time in your life no matter how healthy you are. A kid who I went to high school with at the age of 16 just did not wake up one morning and his cause of death was a brain aneurysm. I lost my husband of 12 years to a sudden brain aneurysm. Last words to me were "Hun, I feel dizzy." And bam, on the floor, dead. I did CPR for 20 minutes waiting for help to come. DRS said it was instant. It sucked for me because it was so sudden, but I take solace in the fact he felt no pain. He hated hospitals and never spent a night in one in his 62 years of life. Most ironic thing was that it was on the Day of the Dead. Hard for me at the time, but man, if I got to have a choice of what day to go, it would be something like that. We had a weird sense of humor. R.I.P. Al. Microplastics in the food and water supplies are crossing the blood-brain barrier. Fun fact. One of the leading sources of microplastics is laundry, specifically, washing machines. Most fabric these days has some plastic in it, and you can get quite a bit out of a dryer's lint trap. All dryers these days have lint traps to prevent fires, but you know what don't? Washing machines. They also produce a bunch of lint, but that lint just gets flushed down the drain. We could cut out a huge amount of microplastics if we banned their use in cosmetics and installed washable filters screen in all new washing machines. There are alternative ways some proteins can form tertiary structures. These different structures make the protein unable to function. These alternate protein structures are infectious and incurable as they are so stable. If you get some in your blood, they will slowly convert your own proteins when making contact. They're called prions. It gets worse. All of the diseases they cause are horrific progressive nightmares that aren't just incurable, but untreatable, and they're all 100% fatal. There's one that just stops you being able to sleep. It has two forms, fatal familial insomnia and sporadic fatal insomnia. You start off having difficulty sleeping, which causes mental health issues such as panic attacks and paranoia. Then you start getting hallucinations. Then you completely lose the ability to sleep. Then finally dementia, insanity and death. It's universally fatal and usually kills you within about 18 months, sometimes as fast as 7. During World War II, the Japanese would continuously experiment on the people they captured, like open a pregnant woman's stomach and see the baby, infect her with syphilis and see the effects, etc., while the Nazis also did commit genocide and all that. Japan was never confronted about those war crimes. The plague is still out there. The bubonic plague is endemic in many parts of the world, but cases are very rare because we've got it pretty well handled. If there's a general breakdown in society like a nuclear war, supervolcano eruption or asteroid impact, it's out there waiting to come back. Another Carrington event. The original Carrington event was in 1859, which was basically an intense geomagnetic storm that disrupted knocked out telegrams because that's all the technology there was to disrupt back then. Nowadays we use electricity for virtually everything. If it hit now, the effect would be like an EMP, but globally, there'd be no functional technology that involved electrics. In essence, losing all electrics would in turn stop communications, then logistics, and then fundamental infrastructure like food distribution, healthcare and utilities. Antimicrobial resistance. The bacteria are getting resistant to the drugs much faster than the rate at which we are producing new drugs. Soon we will reach a scenario when antibiotics cannot treat simple yet lethal infections. Nutrition deficiencies such as iron, vitamin C have many symptoms that were uncovered in an experiment in residential school. They would have a class that would never get iron, another class would get the iron supplements, then compare for results. What were the results of the study? Some children would grow up with disease, a lot of the testing classes didn't survive. Those who did ended up with anemia. Results of the studies are well known to us: fatigue, pale skin, chest pain, tongue soreness, etc. 1 in 3 people will get cancer. It's pretty effed. It's 2 in 5 in the US and slightly higher in the EU, especially Germany, where it is almost 1 in 2. There is a naturally occurring thought in many humans named the call of the void where, without reason, humans see a way they could die and they wonder whether they should kill themselves. Even if they have no real intention of doing so. Edit. Yes, the true term is l'appel du vide, the French term for call of the void. Also, thanks for the awards. I believe this is my first gold.